What in the world is this stuff, guys? It's only October 14th. What is going on, guys? As you can see, we are getting a little fall flurry right now. I just walked outside to start filming and all of a sudden, boom, it's snowing. But we're not gonna let that stop the show. We are still gonna bring you guys this video because the snow cannot stop us. So in today's video, guys, I was kind of just getting prepped for a little bit of a late fall walleye trip. And what I wanted to do is sit down and show you guys my top 4 late fall walleye baits. These are baits that I have learned from walleye pros, working with baits myself, fishing with a bunch of very talented anglers over the years. So I figured right now would be a great time to bring you guys a relevant video for right now. So if you're looking to get out this late fall, you still got probably a good month left here in some of the walleye areas to catch some of these fish. So let's go ahead, let's jump right in. Let's talk about these baits and what they are going to do for you in the late fall. Okay guys, let's go ahead and let's get right into it. Now, basically what's happening as we're in fall here and we're getting snow, the water temperatures are dropping. And when you get really, really cold nights and you add some snow into the mix, they're gonna drop even faster than they normally would. So that means you need to bring out your fall repertoire of baits to go out and catch more walleyes. When the water temps fall and they stabilize after the fall turnover, which is about right now, the fishing can become incredible. The fish are probably going to be close to the biggest they are all year long, and they're crazy, insanely hungry to go out there and gobble up just about anything they can in order to get fat for the winter, so they have those fat reserves. So, number 1 on our list, guys, is a jigging spoon. This jigging spoon is going to be really, really deadly for walleyes because the way you fish it, it has a very erratic action. Obviously this is a staple color. It's kind of like that fire tiger green, yellow, orange. And this one is actually a 1/2 ounce spoon. A 1/2 ounce is a pretty good universal weight. Also go down to a 1/4 maybe if you're fishing some shallow rock, that way you don't get hung up too much. Lots of companies make these, but the notable companies that I'd like to point out are Hot Fishing. Eric Hadia's company makes these, and also Binks. This is a Binks spoon, but both those companies make awesome casting spoons. But I like to throw this on a medium action rod, usually a 610 or even up to like a 7.2. And medium is perfect because it allows a little bit of give when you go to snap this. When you're working this bait, basically you're snapping it up and then letting it fall, then snapping it up and letting it fall. It's kind of basically a snap jigging cadence. Now, what I really like to do, guys, is when it gets colder out, I like to lower that snap, just make it a little bit more gentle, and then hold my rod tip high. Basically what I'm saying here is if you're cast out, you're gonna give it that snap and then you're just gonna hold. But it's a gentle snap now. Those water temps are colder. Those fish may not be as willing to chase, although they're hungry. So a little bit less action will have them come down, and what they'll do is they'll pin that spoon right to the bottom, or they will actually catch it on the fall. It just completely depends on that walleye's attitude and how hungry that particular fish is. But a jigging spoon is a great go-to this time of year. All right, guys, so number 2 on the list. This one would require me to have some bait to show you the full setup, but I'll show you the rig. You can always grab the bait later on. So basically what I've got here is a nice little circle hook. You guys can see that if the camera will focus on it, but nice little circle hook there. And then it runs about a 3-foot leader, and that comes up to a little worm weight there. So basically it's a Carolina rig, or if you would have the Lindy sinker on here, it'd be a Lindy rig. But essentially what you're going to do, guys, is you are going to go out and get some walleye suckers or some chubs, and you're going to throw those little guys on that circle hook, and you are just going to drag this around steep rocky structure. So basically here, as the turnover flips, those fish are no longer going to be found, hanging around too many shallow areas. They're either going to be just on the edge of that shallow area, or they are going to be in that steep rocky break area. This is a great bait. It's mostly snagless when you get around the rocks. It will happen sometimes, you will get snagged. What you're going to do is you're going to drag this, and you're going to use like a medium rod, and that medium rod basically is going to load up as soon as that fish picks up that sucker on that circle hook. You're going to let that rod load just a little bit after you feel that bite, give it to him for a second, and then you're going to reel until it loads up more, and then you're going to kind of hook sweep and set the hook on that fish. Now the great thing about a circle hook is it almost always gets them kind of right in the corner, right in the top of the mouth. So if you're not keeping your walleyes and you're catching big ones, that's a great thing because you're not going to throat hook fish and you're not going to kill them. Generally for this setup, I like to use a casting rod. I think it's more comfortable when you're doing the rigging. I think it's a little bit easier to rig that way. I generally like to use a 12-pound test. It usually seems to be a good option. Can get out of snags, but it's also still light enough for that sucker to have a good action out on the leader. Live bait, guys, in fall when it gets cold is pretty tough to beat, so I definitely would not shy away from dragging around a Lindy rig down in that cold fall water. Okay, going into number 3, guys. Number 3 is going to be a blade bait. Blade baits are deadly cold water techniques, whether it's spring or fall. They absolutely crush fish. And I think the reason is because they're fished so subtly and that little vibration they put off. So as you pop it, you're literally just gonna pop your rod maybe like 6 inches. And when I do that, basically what I'm trying to tell you is all you wanna do is hop that rod until you feel the vibrate, vibrate, fall. Vibrate, vibrate, fall. The Carbon X series of spinning rods has IM8 carbon, and that is going to be perfect for using that little blade bait. When you make that little lift and you do that little wobble wobble, you can feel every bit of that wobble come through your braid all the way through your blank, and you can feel it in your hand. So you can really keep that cadence down, you can keep that cadence nice and perfect by feeling it through your rod. Now what I see way too often when I see people fishing a blade bait is they're doing these big giant rips with their rod, and that blade bait is just not meant to be fished that way. It's meant to be very subtle. So just a little hop off the bottom and it flutters. Little hop off the bottom and it flutters down. And you are going to get bit 99% of the time when that thing is resting on the bottom. They're gonna come down and they're gonna boom, they're gonna pin it down. So the next time you go to hop it, you're gonna kind of feel that and they're gonna set the hook. So it's like a double clutch hook set. But blade baits, guys, are absolutely amazing baits for cold weather. Definitely something you're gonna wanna try in the fall if you never have before. All right, last but certainly not least is gonna be another live bait rig. Just like you did in spring, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna bust out that walleye jig. This is a Kalen's rattle eye. I really, really like these Kalen's rattle eyes. Tom Boley turned me on to these about 2 years ago, and they are just phenomenal. That little rattle, that little bead in that chamber, I think really gets some extra bites out on the water. So basically what you're gonna wanna do with this, guys, is you're gonna take your sucker and you're actually gonna run it through behind the head of the sucker and then bring that hook point out behind the head. If you try hooking it through the lips, you're gonna end up casting, and then on your 3rd or 4th cast, that sucker's gonna go flying to Narnia in the middle of nowhere, and then you're gonna be upset because you have to get your hands cold looking for another sucker out of the bait bucket. So make sure you take that, you run it through, and you put that hook behind the head of the sucker that will allow you to cast, and do your little pop as you're going through. Now, live scope obviously can be a huge helper when it comes to fall fishing because the fish are grouped up and there's a lot of dead water. And so when there's dead water, you can spend a lot of time fishing for nothing if you're not using your electronics. So make sure that you're using your electronics to look for the fish if you have live scope available. If not, use side imaging, same thing, and try to look for those fish. When I'm using this little jig with a sucker on it, what I like to do is just kind of pitch that out there, cast it out there, let it fall to the bottom, and then basically what I'll do is just a little tap, you know, a real light jig, just a real light. And then again, I'll hold that rod tip up and kind of let that bait, so it just goes like this. Here's the bottom, it goes pop, and then it just swings back down to the bottom. Pop, swings back down to the bottom. And then when it swings back down to the bottom, basically you're gonna have that walleye trailing. It's gonna go doop, that's gonna get the walleye's attention. It's gonna come down, the walleye's gonna come up, see that it's laying there on the bottom, and they're just gonna pick it up off the bottom. You'll kind of feel that thump when they hit it and they pin it down. So very simple rig, very effective rig, awesome for spring, also awesome for fall. Now for my jig rig, I like to use a 7'2" medium or a medium light. If they're getting really finicky and they're biting light, that medium light can come in handy because you'll have a little bit better feel. And I also like to have an IM8 rod. IM8 carbon is going to be big in helping that energy transfer and feeling that bite. So the one that I just showed you here is actually the Piscifun Carbon X series. That one is IM8, and that one is super sensitive, and it's great for that technique. Well guys, that is a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and more than that, I hope that you were able to take away some lures and some techniques to go out here right now. This is a right now thing. Go out right now and look for walleyes on your lakes and catch them with these techniques, guys. I can assure you, if you pick these up and you go look for walleyes, you are going to catch some fish. Thank you guys so much for watching the Piscifun YouTube channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't yet, go down and smash that subscribe button, and also please hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Could be a giveaway, could be a new product. Either way, you want to be notified. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.